I was born in poverty in South Africa. I never even saw money. Sometimes the only thing that I had to feed my two younger brothers was frozen milk, and I had to make it last because I didn't know when there would be more food. One time, a lady came to buy our fridge and she gave me 100 Rand, which at that time in 1992 was the equivalent of $100, and I spent the entire thing on ice cream because nobody had ever taught me how to think about spending money. Certainly no one in my world was talking about investing. That information, along with all of the rest of the information about how money works, was reserved for the elite few. And here's a hot take about them. Billionaires have destroyed our world. People work full-time and still can't afford rent, can't afford food, can't survive one unexpected emergency without their entire lives falling apart. We are drowning in stress while being told to call it ambition, celebrated for working our lives to the bone, and still waking up every morning wondering, terrified, if this is the month that we finally won't make it. And while that's happening, billionaires are buying politicians and manipulating markets and getting out of paying taxes somehow and extracting more and more from people who have almost nothing left to give. They pollute our brains, they pollute our nervous systems with constant fear and outrage and comparison and consumption because distracted people are easier to control than empowered ones. And here's the most disturbing part. Most of us think this is normal, that exhaustion is normal, that financial terror is normal, that living one paycheck away from complete collapse is normal. This is just how everyone lives, we reassure ourselves, while quietly counting how many meals we have left before the next paycheck. People trapped in survival don't learn how money works. They don't learn investing or compounding or leverage. People stay stuck. And when people are stuck being dependent, power stays exactly where it already is. That's the point. So maybe the problem is not billionaires. You know, for a long time, I really thought it was all their fault. The billionaires, the corporations, the people who hoarded wealth while the rest of us scraped by. And don't get me wrong, I still believe that concentrated power is dangerous or can be dangerous, but there's something deeply off about a system where 1% of the population holds more wealth than 95% of the world combined. As an adult, my relationship with money was pretty comical. I was always like, money, hi, come here. I need you. Come back. Why are you always leaving me? Maybe you can relate. I fell for scams left, right, and center. I had never heard of due diligence or even fact-checking the person selling you the vision. At one point, I lost all my money in a Bitcoin scam. Because I was just so desperate to get out of survival, but I believed them when they said, oh yeah, their money will definitely make 40% return monthly. In case you're wondering, it did not. But that was the moment that everything changed, because my vulnerability wasn't random. It was the direct result of never actually being taught how money works. I had spent my entire life learning how to work my tail off, exactly 0 time learning what to do once the money finally arrived. So after a decade of healing my negative beliefs around money, when the money did finally start flowing in, I did what any reasonable person would do. I spent it on bags and shoes, obviously. As I healed my attachment to money and started helping others do the same, I started noticing something real strange. The people who hated billionaires the most were often the ones that were most uncomfortable with wealth itself. They wanted financial freedom while simultaneously associating money with greed, corruption, extraction, and moral compromise. And that is such a difficult place to live because you can't, by the way, you cannot sustainably move towards an identity that you fundamentally distrust. I saw it over and over. People would make a bunch more money and then panic, and then slash their prices and sabotage and overspend and unconsciously recreate that financial instability that they were familiar with. Their systems had been groomed, trained to associate money with danger. And it's impossible to build a financially empowered population while simultaneously teaching them to fear money. That, again, is the point. Did you know that there are already ethical billionaires out there doing incredible things for humanity? Mackenzie Scott, formerly known as Bezos, gave away $26 billion in less than 7 years and is now worth almost double that. And it starts to plant a seed that maybe, just maybe, it's possible to do good, share wealth, and then make even more money? Warren Buffett had $65 billion. He gave away $60 billion. And now he's worth over $160 billion and still giving it away. Dan Price from a company called Gravity Payments reduced his 7-figure salary to $70,000 so that he could increase his employees to $70,000 so they could afford to live. And although people mocked him and predicted that he would be out of business within a year, revenue tripled instead. So what then is the real problem? The real problem isn't billionaires. It's who the billionaires are and what they're doing with the money. And it starts to raise a moral obligation. Because if wealth in the wrong hands is dangerous, that implies something about wealth in the right hands. What would you do with 10 million, 100 million, a billion? Who would you help? What could you fix? What could you create that would make this world amazing? And this right here, this is where some people start to check out. Because at the back of their mind, there's often a voice that says, not me. I could never create that. I couldn't build that kind of wealth. I'm not smart enough. I'm not educated enough. I don't know the right people. I'm not disciplined. I'm not lucky, or worse. Oh, that's too much money. I wouldn't know what to do with that. I don't want it. But let's pause right now and question, where did we even learn these beliefs? Because most of us were not taught how to create wealth by ethical people who understand that money is just a magnifier. Most of us inherited fear around money, shame, suspicion, helplessness, calling it the moral high ground, when really it's just fear. We teach ordinary people how to labor, not how to build systems that continue generating wealth long after the system is complete. And when entire populations are left out of how money works, this happens. Good people see money as a finite cup of resources. They think that you can take just what you need and maybe a little bit extra for savings or vacation, retirement, college, but they believe that if they take too much, they're taking from someone else. That's not true. That cup is trillions of times bigger than good people actually think, but they don't see it. So while they leave the rest in the cup, the ones who do see it come along and they're like, oh, thank you very much. And they scoop it out and they do this to humanity. So yeah, I think it's time for ethical people to step up to the plate. I believe that good people have an obligation to become powerful enough to participate in shaping our future. Because if we don't, the only people that are left are the ones who have already been doing this. So here's 3 steps to rethink wealth right away. Step 1, play the money game. So on a piece of paper or on a spreadsheet, imagine that you made double the amount of money that you're making right now. So if it's 100,000, imagine that you make 200,000 and plan where you would spend it on paper. Now, only on paper, okay? If you do it in real life, that can get you into trouble, right? Step 2, do it every day. So on day 1, plan month 1. On day 2, spend month 2. Step 3, when that feels super easy, when you're like, oh yeah, I could spend double the amount of money I'm making, take it to $1 million a year if you're not already there. And then $1 million a month. And then $1 million a week. What you will do is you'll start to create pathways in your brain that will allow you to actually begin to receive that money. So you can learn how money works. You can learn investing and creating income-generating assets and using leverage to learn how to do that. You can heal the fear, guilt, shame, and survival conditioning that tell you that massive wealth belongs to somebody else. And truthfully, you must. Because ethical people need to claim their massive wealth. It's time for more good billionaires. And if we don't, the only people left to take that wealth are the people who did this to our world in the first place. So if you want to start right away, you can start tomorrow. Before you grab your phone, right when you wake up, just close your eyes and imagine that money, visualize that money coming to you. Feel it in your body. Imagine those conversations. What would you say? Who would you help? You will begin to retool the way that you think about money. So, let's go together. Let's go change our world. Thank you.